Salamun alaykum. So when Allah told Musa and his brother to go to Fir'awn, فَقُولَا لَهُ qawlan layyinan, then say to him a word that is layyin. A lot of people translate this as say to him a word that is soft. But that's not actually what it means. And it actually, the word layyin means something much deeper than that. So let's look at this from the perspective of the Quran. So, first of all, this word comes from the verb lana or yalinu. And a really good definition or a really good starting point to understand the definition of this word from a Quranic standpoint is in the story of Dawood or David when Allah told Dawood in the Quran or Allah spoke about Dawood in the Quran. He said, وَأَلَنَّا لَهُ الْحَدِيدِ وَأَلَنَّا, which is from the same root. He said, usually they translate this as, and we soften iron for him. Alanna, we soften lahu for him, al hadid, iron. But let's think about that. Iron is something that's rigid, that's hard, right? So he took something that is rigid and hard and he softened it in a way to make it malleable and make it usable. So the meaning of lana, yelinu, is not just something that's soft, it's something that became soft and usable after being hard or rigid. And we can see this meaning in a couple other different verses. So Allah told the Prophet Muhammad, for example, فَبِمَا رَحْمَةٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ لِنْتَ لَهُمْ. He said, it's by a mercy of Allah that you linta lahum. Okay, so usually this word linta lahum, lahum for them, they usually say you dealt with them gently. That's how they usually translate it. But if we keep this meaning that we just discovered from the verse about Dawood, فَبِمَا رَحْمَةٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ لِنْتَ لَهُمْ, by a mercy from Allah, you softened for them, meaning you were hard and rigid and difficult or upset even. Because if you look at the context is talking about something that they did wrong. So he told the Prophet Muhammad, it's from the mercy of Allah that after you might have been upset, after you might have been rigid, after you might have been hard and just not wanting to deal with them or not wanting to forgive them, it's by the mercy of Allah that you relented, you softened for them. And you can see that from the rest of the verse because he says, وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَظًّا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ لَانْفَضُّوا مِنْ حَوْلِكَ. And if you were severe and harsh-hearted, they would have broken away from around you. فَاعْفُ عَنْهُمْ, so pardon them. وَاسْتَغْفِرْ لَهُمْ, and seek forgiveness for them. وَشَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ, and consult them in the affair. So these verses show us the true meaning of the word lana yalinu. So when Allah told Musa and his brother, فَقُولَا لَهُ qawlan layyinan, he was saying something much deeper than just saying a soft word. So let's look at another place in the Quran that's going to help us understand this. And this is in chapter 39, verse 23, which also uses a variation of this root word. He says, Allahu nazzala ahsan al-hadithi kitaban mutashabihan. Allah sent down the most beautiful hadith, a book whose parts resemble each other, mathani, oft repeating, taqasha'irru minhu juludu alladhina yakhshawna rabbahum. SubhanAllah, look at this beautiful description. He says, the skins of those who fear their Lord, have khashya of their Lord, taqsha'irru, they develop goosebumps. Okay, so from this book, Allah sent down the most beautiful hadith, and the skin of those who fear their Lord develops goosebumps from this. Now, what are goosebumps? If you think about it, goosebumps is the hair raising and the muscles tightening on the skin. And why does that happen? It happens for various reasons. It could happen because of temperature, but it also could happen from extreme emotions like fear. Now, was Musa in fear? In the beginning, yeah, when he first talked to Allah, he told Allah, he said, وَلَهُمْ عَلَيَّ ذَنْبٌ فَأَخَافُ أَنْ يَقْتُلُونَ. He said, they have a sin against me, so I feared that they would kill me. And Allah told him, كَلَّا, nay, that would not happen. He addressed that. So Musa started off in fear, right? And why do goosebumps happen? Goosebumps happen, one of the reasons is from fear, the fight or flight response. Now look at what it says after it talks about developing goosebumps. It says, تَقْشَعِرُّ مِنْهُ جُلُودُ الَّذِينَ يَخْشَوْنَ رَبَّهُم. The skins of those who fear their Lord develop goosebumps. ثُمَّ تَلِينُ جُلُودُهُم. It uses the same word. ثُمَّ, then, تَلِينُ. The skins, جُلُودُهُم, their skins soften. So meaning after they develop this intense emotional reaction from يَخْشَوْنَ رَبَّهُم, they fear their Lord, تَلِينُ جُلُودُهُم. their skins soften, right? SubhanAllah. So when Allah told Musa, when you put all these verses together, when Allah told Musa and his brother, فَقُولَا لَهُ qawlan layyinan, speak to him a word, a statement that is layyin. It's not just soft. It's saying after you had this fear, after you had this fight or flight response, maybe even anger and resentment for what they did to you and your people. Don't stay stuck on that. Don't hold on to that. Don't make your statement spoken be spoken out of fear and anger and resentment. Say to him a word that is layyin. Say to him a word that has become softened after you felt this fear and maybe even anger or these other things that you may have felt. So it's subhanAllah, it's much deeper, and the Quran teaches us such beautiful, beautiful, beautiful manners. Because what's one of the reasons why we might want to talk to someone harshly? We might want to talk to someone harshly out of anger or out of fear or out of all these intense emotions. So qawlan layyinan is telling us that we should speak to people with a statement that becomes softened after experiencing these intense emotions. Salamun alaykum.